So that's going to be our attitude in the struggle against no matter what. Break out of this idea that they don't have the money and that their rights are superior to the rights of the workers and the oppressed people. But the only way to do, and that's what we got to do while we're living under capitalism. But everything has to point in the direction of taking the means of production and using it for the mass of the people. When a handful of directors can sit in a room and have a discussion, and at the end of the discussion, 10 plants get shut down because they looked at their figures and their numbers. That's a handful of people.
Never worked a day in their lives.
Yeah, never worked a day in their lives, have no familiarity with humanity. And they make a decision, and the board of directors of General Motors, or the board of directors of Chrysler, or the board of directors of BP or Exxon, they make a decision, and millions of people suffer. That has to end. And the only way to do that is to have a socialist revolution and throw them out forever.
So much from those first two talks, and at first, as I was thinking of that, I was thinking of just the ugly future that exists with capitalism, and that's why I'm so excited about this next talk, which is going to be by Berta Joubert-Chichi, and the talk is going to be about Latin America, where the workers are doing exactly what Fred spoke about. Exactly what needs to be done. Where in Cuba, the workers have seized the government. They have an entire society there, and they're moving. They're building socialism. In Venezuela, where they're on the road to socialism. And all of Latin America. So I'm very excited. Berta is a frequent writer for Workers' World newspaper, and she's acted almost as our ambassador to the workers in Latin America. Who are doing so much heroic struggle and are doing so well. She just got back from Puerto Rico. And in Puerto Rico, they were going to shut down the university, and the students went out on strike en masse, and victoriously, overcame that. And whenever I start getting depressed, and I'm getting frustrated with the wars, I always see what the workers are doing around the world, and I know that it's only a matter of time before we start doing it here. So, on that note, you ready, Berta?
Thank you. I'll give you like a free have stayed. It's very difficult to follow these two great talks, so I'm going to do my best. So that's why I'm using some visuals. And my part will be dealing with the capitalist domination of Latin America. And we say, why Latin America? Because capitalism has affected all over the world, particularly as imperialism, it's all over. Why Latin America? And I wanted everybody to think that this is not the oppression, and what I'm going to show here is not only in Latin America. The United States International has done the same thing in Asia, has done the same thing in Africa. I chose Latin America for two things. One, because I'm Latin American. And it's not self-serving, but it's my experience, and I can relate to it in a more personal way. And second, because I'm from Puerto Rico. And second, because it is very close. It's closer than Africa, it's closer than Asia. It's what has been considered the backyard of the United States. And it's also where there is some revolutionary fervor. So I think it's very important not only to study what the United States and the transnational has done, but also how the people are rising up and how all those immigrants from Latin America are coming here and are injecting that energy to the working class and the class struggle in the United States. So bear with me, I have, in order to shorten this, I have to use the whole screen so I can see how many slides are left. So this is the map of Latin America. It looks very dark here, but It's the United States. You see the southern part of Miami. Miami. You see the part of Central America, which is this region. You see the part of Miami, which is, from Florida, the United States, Mexico, then Central America, then South America. And do you remember what the Monroe Doctrine was and how it has been used? The Monroe Doctrine was that the United States, it's a U.S. policy that was introduced in December of 1823, which stated that further efforts by European countries to colonize land or interfere with states in the Americas would be viewed by the United States of America as acts of aggression requiring U.S. intervention. I'm raising this because this has been the political, it's basically the economic policy of the United States for the domination of the area, and has been used as an excuse until now. For example, in 1962, the map on the top, it's Cuba. It says, U.S. President John F. Kennedy said in a news conference, the Monroe Doctrine means what it has meant since President Monroe and John Quincy Adams enunciated it, and that is that we would oppose a foreign power extending its power to the Western Hemisphere. And that is why we oppose what is happening in Cuba today. That is why we have cut off our trade. That is why we work with the Organization of American States and in other ways to isolate the communist menace in Cuba. That is why we will continue to give a good deal of our effort and attention to it. That hasn't changed a bit. And this is a caricature done by a Cuban artist of the time. Now, what has happened? That was from the early capitalist period of the Monroe Doctrine to now, which is the high-tech time of neoliberalism. That's that part of imperialism, which is the increase of high technology and the policy of neoliberalism. Well, there has been an evolution, if we can call it like that, or a development of capitalism. And throughout, all the Latin American resources have been feeding the insatiable appetite of huge multinational corporations. I'm just putting here just a few. I put Coca-Cola because that has been internationally the symbol of U.S. imperialism, and particularly all the transnational. There is Coca-Cola everywhere. And everywhere they are devastating the environment and putting the workers that work in the Coca-Cola plants at risk, including one in Colombia. I think you all know that there is a Coca-Cola boycott because the Coca-Cola company, and it's still doing, they hire paramilitaries to kill union leaders because they want to take the unions out of the Coca-Cola plants, and they want to increase the profit, which is what capitalism is. So it's not only Coca-Cola, it's ExxonMobil, it's Nike, it's Adidas, it's Anglo American. So basically, they are exploiting the mines, the gas, the oil, all the natural resources.